Um, so I'm going to talk a little bit broad spectrum over everything, and more along the educational side of things. How many are existing customers of Sinclair? Okay, awesome. So a little bit about Sinclair. So let's go back. I started clinically in this industry. I used to travel around and train our accounts how to utilize these devices. So I came from that side of things. At the time we were Viora, we were heavy in radio frequency, and then expanded our portfolio further into light-based therapies and then other unique modalities. Shortly before we were acquired by Sinclair, we acquired a company called Perfaction, and that's where the Energet came from. And I'm going to speak a little bit to the Energet. And then we were acquired by Sinclair. So that's where, for those of you that have been around for a long time, or for those of you that aren't customers but have seen us and saw the branding go from black and white to this lavender and navy, that's kind of the shift that happened. Sinclair was everywhere else but North America, had specific interest in Viora because of our placement in the United States specifically. We have a very different cultural approach than most of the other manufacturers within the space, and that was very appealing for them. For us, it was an opportunity to grow our portfolio significantly. I don't know if many of you know, but globally, Sinclair also manufactures a biostimulator called Elance, and two fillers. We also are the manufacturer of the Instalift, the Silhouette Instalift. So in a few short years, we will have that entire portfolio here in the United States, and Sinclair is poised to be the largest aesthetic provider in the world. To what Kara had said, I've been at Sinclair, Viora now Sinclair, for going on 12 years. And about 10 years ago is when we, found an opportunity or kind of finagled and had the wheels spinning in regards to dental. I ran into a friend of a friend at the Fort Lauderdale Boat Show. She was like, yeah, I just started a new job. I said, tell me about it. She's like, we teach dentists how to do Botox and dermal fillers. And I was like, that's interesting. So I said, hey, can you get me a meeting with your boss? And so I sat down with her and I said, listen, there's got to be some way to collaborate here. And I will say that it was a learning experience for a long time. I didn't know anything. I just knew I hated going to the dentist, like most patients who hate going to the dentist, right? And it took me a while to understand the lingo, to understand the industry as a whole. But as a company, it was an evolution too, where we had to understand that so we could change our marketing, change our approach. I had an account in Colorado Springs, Colorado, very modest account, if you will, for one reason or another, and we had sold them a V-Series device, and we sent them the roll-up, and at the time, the roll-up was this beautiful blonde, and she's kind of faded in the background, but she's wearing a bikini top, and there's just little bubbles about what the device can do, the different treatment capabilities. And I got a call from the office manager, and she was like, Sally, we cannot put this up in our waiting room. She was like, most of our patients are LDS, our owners are LDS, and they cannot have a bikini in the background of this picture. She's like, everything should be face and neck. So I went to the marketing team and I said, listen, they're right. Dentists are face and neck. We need to change all of our collateral to face and neck. I will say, over the last 10 years, with the growth of this industry, specifically within dentistry, I see more and more dentists collaborating with either their oral surgeons, depending on the state, or other medical directors, even NPs, to allow for them to do full body treatments. I would say probably 1 in every 3 of our practices are doing something like that. But we did definitely make a hard change to our marketing approach to dental. But now it's something that like Kara said again, accounts for about 30% of our gross national revenue. So for every 1 in 3 to 1 in 5 of our sales, depending on the month, is to dental. These are just a few of the collaborative partners that we work with: Dental Whale, Crown Council, Dentist Advisors. We are an ADA cert provider. Dental Success Network, the American Academy of Facial Aesthetics, the American Board of Aesthetic Medicine, the Academy of Dental and Medical Anesthesia. They actually have an aesthetic division as well. IAFA, Dentist Spa Seminars, to name a few. So we had so this is our first ever Dental Beauty Boss. This was a brainchild between myself and Andrea. And so to say that I was nerve-wracked about this, but also very, very excited about this, and I hope to see this grow exponentially year over year. But we have been providing dental CE courses more along the lines of it's very clinical and hands-on versus this being more of like a meeting of the minds approach. We have one more this year in Tampa. It'll be October 7th and 8th. It's a 2-day course. Again, it's didactic and hands-on on a per modality basis. So you actually get to understand each one of the main modalities within the aesthetic space, put your hands on them, do the treatments, and really see, hear, ask, feel, and touch how it all works. All right, so to what Dr. Myron said, this is an industry that it's a huge, massive industry, and it's growing exponentially year over year. It's slated that 1 in every 4, so 20 to 25% of all dental practices by 2025 will have some form of spa-type treatment, whether that be medical, facial aesthetic, or fluffy spa. I mean, that could be like lavender-scented towels and weighted blankets, you know. But it's slated that by 2025, 1 in every 4 or 5 dental practices will be doing something like this. I will say the fluffy stuff doesn't usually generate a whole lot of revenue. The more medical grade stuff does. So this is definitely something that if you are considering, or if you're not doing, somebody around you will be doing it soon enough, and quite honestly, you should be. The medical spa industry is booming. These are just some statistics. I think more so than anything, what the pandemic taught us in this era is that aesthetics is pandemic proof. We know from the Great Depression that it's recession proof. We found that people were looking at the reflection of themselves within the computer. There was an influx. I was talking to a doctor the other day, and I said, you know, what treatment are you guys doing most? This is a practice in Omaha, Nebraska, a dental practice. I said, what aesthetic procedures are you doing more? She's like, you know what we see more so than anything is chin and neck, because everybody was looking down at themselves, and everybody looks at their phone like this and was like, oh my God. You know, when you look at your phone and your camera's on and it's the wrong way and you're like, oh my God, that's what that looks like. That's a huge treatment right now. So they've made a killing off of marketing that treatment specifically. Back to the Great Depression. So have any of you guys heard of the lipstick effect? Basically, during the Great Depression, when nobody had any money, women were still spending money on lipstick, because initially they thought it was primarily to just help them feel better, right? Just slap on some lipstick, I look better, I feel better, you know, to get through what was going on. And actually, it's shown to be more of a Darwinian effect. Granted, we've come a long way as a cultural, as a society, but it was more so to look better to gain a man who could help pay the bills. So again, we've come a long way since then, but there's a lot more to it. Let's just put it that way. So more statistics. These are a little bit older, but the total number of med spas, and I want to say this was in 2022, or about 4,200. The total industry size was just under $4 billion with a growth trajectory of 8%. I think it's almost at 9.25% now, with the average medical spa revenue being just under $1 million. And it was unique to see that the top 3 revenue generating treatments, and so as these are stated categorically, Botox and fillers, right, were number 1, esthetician services, and that basically is anything an esthetician can do. Microderm, facials, any laser energy-based treatment, and then laser hair removal was 3rd. Also, I think it's important, there's a very unique distribution of your medical spas. I think what has been so surprising for me is some of our biggest placements in dental specifically are in the Midwest. Midwest, Colorado, Utah are some of the biggest placement areas of dental. Florida is a huge one. So again, just growth within the space. I think this was specific to dental. Meet the 13.2 annual billion-dollar cash-based industry. Up to 12% of dental practices in the United States currently offer dental spa or spa dental services. With the strong growth, we talked about this. So know why and what to offer in aesthetics. This was a study, and I'm sure a lot of you know who actually did this, and it's slated, it's skewed slightly. This is specific to injectables, margin, and doctor chair time, okay? So how many of you offer injectables? Okay. So I tell everybody, I've been to, in my career, probably 1,500 injectable courses, right? If I could inject, I would be a really good injector. What I find is when we go to like a level 1 course, right? It's packed. We see 40 to 100 dentists a weekend as a company. We see 40 to 100 dentists a weekend going through injectable courses. Your level 1s are always slammed. Your level 2s are a small fraction. Your level 3s and 4s are even smaller, okay? And ultimately what it comes down to, and what these case studies show, is that your profit margin is about 50% on injectables. Only challenge being is the dentist has to do the injections, right? And it takes, Botox is easy, right? Botox is super quick, makes a big difference real quick, right? Fillers is another story, right? And unless you're doing this all the time and you've made it your mission and this is something that you love and you're passionate about, most of the dentists go back to the practice, they do a couple filler treatments. It takes up a lot of time. It's very artistic in nature. Your level 1, I always say they should teach level 2 and level 1 the opposite direction, right? Mid-face fill, deep to the bone, very little chance for vascular occlusion or issues. And then they should go do the more superficial stuff and the nasolabial folds, the lips, that kind of thing. Delegatable tasks and energy-based treatments is that it's done by your team, right? And usually by your assistants. Our goal, and the goal of having energy-based treatments within your practice, should be to further facilitate a comprehensive menu of services for facial aesthetics, a more comprehensive care approach to your patients for facial aesthetics that is delegatable and can allow your your dental assistants to generate as much or more revenue for your practice as your hygienists do doing hygiene work, okay? This is our entire product portfolio. There's really no other manufacturer in the space that has the variety in technology that we do. Everything from your class 1 pristine electroporation or ionphoresis with the Dermafuse. There's nobody out there that has the Enerjet, and I'll get a little bit into that. But then your multiple modality platform devices. You see that mammoth in the middle, the Elysian, is just a powerhouse hair removal device. Do we have one here? Do we have? Oh, that thing is just a giant, but it pumps out hair removal like nobody's business. Okay, so as far as platform systems go, the beauty of this, again, is that for dental practices specifically, I mean, Dolly Vita Aesthetics is a little bit different. They'll come up here and talk about their model. But for most of the dental practices, especially in the beginning, it's important to be able to target or treat all of the different treatment capabilities that are most sought after in this space: skin tightening, vascular lesion removal, hair removal, active acne clearance, resurfacing, facial contouring. Again, all of that's in a single device, whereas with other devices or other practices that are doing this all day long every day and have a number of different rooms to dedicate to it, you can solicit to all of those patients, you can treat all of those patients, but you didn't have to invest $700,000 in a bunch of different devices that do what one of our devices do. It used to be zero consumables. That's not the case anymore. Actually, on those handpieces, it is zero consumables. But we do have the largest menu of services within a single platform of any other device on the market, period. So you can see all of the different things that this device can do. We do have handpieces, so your fractional RF, that's your VVR. The tips of those are consumable. And we did launch, but we don't have it on here because none of you are going to be offering it, but we do have an intravaginal wand. And the tip of the vaginal wand is a consumable as well. But so these are all of the modalities that you have on that platform. Your V-Form is a vacuum-assisted radiofrequency handpiece that's going to do fat reduction, bulk laxity tightening, so your turkey neck, bat wings, post-severe weight loss, post-pregnancy. And it's also going to be the handpiece that treats the lower portion of the face, your muscles of mastication for TMD and trismus. So your masseters, your joint space, your pterygoids, your SCM, and your trapezius. And quite honestly, it can treat anywhere on the body for pain reduction where the radio frequency is able to reach the muscle. Awesome for cellulite. This is what we use for the V-Slim treatment for facial slimming. It's what we use for dejowling, submental volume reduction. The VST is going to do fine lines and wrinkles, perioral lines, non-invasive lip plumping, under eye bags and dark circles, upper eyelid tightening, your forehead lines, your crow's feet. It's great for submental mild laxity, the neck, hands, décolleté. Ablative RF, this is going to be on this platform, it's our only minimally invasive handpiece, so there is some level of downtime. It is the most versatile fractional and coagulative handpiece on the market. It functions both like a fractional laser for resurfacing, but also like RF microneedling, where it actually penetrates with its technology much deeper than any other RF microneedling device on the market. This is something that I use every year, once a year, to maintain my skin. I can put makeup on after 24 hours. Unlike most of your fractional lasers out there, your mildly ablative type stuff out there, I can do this at about 75% of the energy without any numbing whatsoever. No topical, no nothing. It's not fun, and I smell my burning skin, but the results are worth it. Your IPL, we have a six filter IPL. So basically, for those of you that don't know what IPL is, it stands for intense pulse light. It functions like a laser, except that it's broad spectrum lighting. It's all the colors of the rainbow. And so what you can do with your filters is actually tell it what chromophore to target. So this handpiece alone is going to do hair removal on all 6 skin types. It's going to do active acne clearance. That is the only photochemical treatment. It actually causes, with blue light, it causes oxygen to be released within the pustule and kill the bacteria. So patients that come in with active acne have a 75 to 95% improvement of active acne within 24 to 48 hours. I've had pediatric dentists buy this handpiece specifically just for their patients for acne. It is truly the unsung hero for acne. If you have an acneic kid, the first thing that your dermatologist is going to do, because they didn't go to school to treat acne, right? They're going to put them on a low-dose, long-term antibiotic that's bad for their liver in the long run with some drying topical, and your kid already doesn't know how to take care of their skin anyway. When that patient comes in 2 days later and their skin looks like a different kid, it's unbelievable. It will also do photofacials, so your skin rejuvenation, and vascular and pigmented lesion removal, so your sunspots, your rosacea, port wine stains, broken blood vessels. It's amazing. And then we have a long pulse ND-YAG, which also is super great for your small vascular lesions, cherry angiomas, leg vein removal, skin rejuvenation, phenomenal for, and it's super fun to use. But the pre-made dermafacial, for those of you that are familiar with treatments in this industry, this is going to be most closely compared to something like the hydrofacial. This has more modalities on it, a more customized way of approaching skin, and it is a smart technology. It's also Emma Aesthetics licensed this globally exclusively to Sinclair. They made it a mission to be sustainable. So for their plastics, they offset their plastics in a collaboration with, what is it, One Ocean? It's One Ocean, right? With One Ocean. So they clean up the ocean alongside this, so it's a sustainable model. You have wet microderm. You have carboxytherapy. That's my most favorite treatment on here. It tingles and your skin gets a little red, but I love it. You have microcurrent and EMS to actually help lift from the muscular level at the jaw, the cheek line, and the forehead. You have radiofrequency for tightening, and then you have ultrasound for infusion. If any of you can, we have demo stations throughout in the back. We have a pre-made. If you guys can have these treatments done, you should experience them. So if you want to take a break and go back, we have team members here dedicated to doing these treatments so you can experience them as well. I'm not going to do this. That was just a little snippet video on it. Okay, so the Energet. So when this was described to me when we were acquiring this system, I got goosebumps and I was like, oh my gosh, needle-free vaccine delivery. I don't know if any of you know, but together my husband and I have 8 children. And going to the pediatrician knowing that there's going to be shots is the worst. It's the worst. Luckily, I have kids that are like, they deal with it pretty well, but my initial thought with the Energet, totally outside of aesthetics, was we should put one of these in every pediatrician's office. If you can go to a kid without having a needle in your hand and it's not gonna hurt, like, amen, yes to that. And then I had to be wrangled in because that's not what we do, we're in aesthetics. This is what the Energet can do in aesthetics. It is the coolest freaking device I have ever seen in the history of my career in this space. It was actually funded by the Israeli government by grants. So the company that had it had no real incentive to like get out there and sell it. They just studied the crap out of it. So it's the most studied device within our portfolio. Primarily in aesthetics, there's 4 different, so it has you preload a syringe. The four different medications or solutions, if you will, that you're going to use with the Energet or have been used and studied are toxins for hyperhidrosis in the hands, underarm, and feet. So what happens, and I'll get into that later, is you use less product, there's more dispersion, more efficacy than just injecting it by itself. You also have hyaluronic acid, cross-linked and non-cross-linked, for kinetic facelifts, where it actually injects, creates a nano bomb inside the skin, and with hyperdiluted HA, those HA little nano bullets then stick. So you've irritated the SMAS, you're in the hairline, there's no downtime, and it literally lifts your face backwards. You also get a filling effect with the HA. That's what you could do the dermal thickening with, so necklines, stretch marks, phenomenal, décolletés. PRP for hair restoration and skin rejuvenation, and then also Kenalog. It's the gold standard for scars. So any keloid scars, post-surgical scars, burn scars, and those are what you're going to use the Kenalog with, and for acne scars, you can use the HA as well. So just such a cool device. So this is an image actually of what it does. But see how it injects through a 200 micron hole. So the hole is the size of like using a cannula, except it doesn't hurt like using a cannula or a needle, right? And then instead of just injecting, and there's an image that you'll probably see in Dr. Swarzewski's presentation of the dispersion and the depth of penetration that you get, but it's nothing like what happens with the needle. It's the most incredible thing. So here's some before and afters with scars. Acne scars, dermal thickening and lines, the décolleté, I mean, come on, right? Amazing. This is the kinetic facelift. This is a hyperhidrosis, so they used ink to show efficacy. Again, all of these are delegatable modalities that can be done by your staff. You guys all got fusion kits within your bag. The one thing that needs to be spoken to and known is that gone are the days of single modality approach to anything, right? And the beauty of having a large portfolio of modalities, even if it's just in a single system, is layering therapies. You're going to get better results by layering therapies in the same session even than doing a single modality approach, okay? So fusion kits, what you'll see in them is actually the layered therapy with the different modalities to get better results faster. So everybody always asks, how can I do this? I just want you to know that we've, in doing this for the last 10 years, almost 11 years, we I familiarize myself on a case-by-case basis, on a day-to-day basis, every time reviewing what the different regulations are. And if you have any of those questions, I will walk you through them, walk you through the assets that we utilize to clarify within. And I'm going really long-winded, so I'm going to kind of breeze through this. But coming from clinical and then sales management, now practice development, kind of run the gamut. But the biggest slap in the face was when my husband and I started our aesthetic practice in Florida and really needed to figure out what you guys needed to figure out. And I've been telling all my accounts, you just do this, you just do this. And then when it came to do it, I was like, wow, I need to learn more. And so I think for those of you that haven't started this but are thinking about doing it, really think it through and have a mission, understand what it is that you're looking for rather than just going willy-nilly into it. The beauty of it is having learned that experience and working with our team, we've created vendor partnerships with many of those who are in here. And by the way, the people that are in here are people that we know, we work with, and we trust. Just think about what you need. These are the different questions to ask. What do I offer? What treatments can be adjunctive? What other services do I want to add? And always, is it safe and effective? These are the industry's leading treatments. So the one thing about aesthetics, or just life in general at this point, because life has become so matter of convenience, right? Especially for men, okay? If you're just offering Botox and dermal fillers, but you're not offering the rest of this, that patient that came to you for Botox and fillers is going to go somewhere else to get the rest of this. And then it's very likely that that practice already has Botox and dermal fillers, and they're not going to come back to you for the Botox and dermal fillers. So you better be willing to go the distance with this, because that's how you're going to retain your patients. That's how you're going to round your practice out effectively. All adjunctive therapies to energy-based systems and themselves. Again, more questions. What's the upfront cost? This is when it's coming to buying technology, and this is again from an educational perspective. What's the upfront cost of ownership? Okay, know and be able to compare what it is that you're looking for. Is there discomfort? That's a two-edged sword for us. So it depends on your demographic, right? Millennials know that one, they're not far advanced in age that they really need anything super aggressive. They know that they can get treatments now with the technology that's available that isn't supposed to hurt, and they're also ninnies, okay? But where we're at in West Palm Beach, right, Jupiter, Florida, where everybody comes down from the Northeast, there are all these old biddies that live in the country club, and they play tennis all day long and golf all day long, and they come down and they'll get in the chair because they want these treatments because they want to go back up to the Northeast and be like, look what I had done when I was out there. We would do treatments, and they would say, oh, no, turn it up. I'm like, I don't need to turn it up. No, I don't really feel anything. That's okay. I know I'm where I need to be, but I don't feel anything. And if they don't feel it, it's not happening. They're a beauty is pain type of thing. So I'm like, talked to Josh, and I was like, I think we need some painful stuff. Or maybe when we're doing the VFR, we just don't apply any numbing whatsoever. You know what I'm saying? And so we actually had to bring on some modalities that were painful. So it depends on what your demographic is looking for. Can it be delegated? Again, if this is something that you want to do and you're passionate about it and it's worth your chair time, great. Otherwise, you need to have stuff that you can delegate to your team. What is the long-term cost in consumables? This is a big one. When you're buying, make sure you look into warranty costs. Make sure you look into consumable costs, okay? Make sure you look into what the warranty actually covers, okay? Will the system be obsolete? We talked about that in technology. What's the support like? Does the company specialize in my field or specialty, right? So is some company going to send you some half-naked girl on a banner for your dental practice that's full body? Not us. Again, with the support is always huge, just in general. You want to buy from a rep that you like, but you want to know that the company that stands behind that rep is going to support you in the long run. Local support, what's the training like initially and ongoing? What kind of training materials is offered? What kind of collateral to just help you as a business? Marketing, practice development is provided. Is ongoing additional training available? And I mean, as this industry grows, there's companies from all over. There's distributors that work here in the US that aren't the manufacturers, and the actual support is coming globally, right? So they have like a little base here, but how much support are you actually going to get? So just do some investigation into the companies that you buy for. Always take advantage of everything that you can. Don't just sit there and just be like, oh, a sitting duck, and like waiting for people to come in off the street and ask for the device that you just put in that back room, right? Utilize the support that you have. Motivate your team is big. I give an example. I had a practice, almost all of the practices, and specifically in dental, we have a lot of your dental assistants tend to be young women, young men, right? So they're forward thinking, they're used to seeing this stuff on social media, so they get behind it really quickly. And having a team that's going to help push this for you is instrumental. I went into a practice, I met 2 dentists at an ADMA meeting, and they were like tan and like super in shape, like really in shape, like competitor in shape. I'm like, they gotta be from like Vegas or Texas or Florida. Nope, they were from Minnesota. And they weren't from Minneapolis, Minnesota. They were from Marshall, Minnesota, which is in the middle of nowhere. So they were like gung-ho. They were there to learn Botox and fillers. They bought the device right there. I went out myself to go install that device. And I walked in, and their staff were not with it. And they looked at me like I had 3 heads. And we were going to do some quick demo treatments on them just to make sure like the device was up and running properly, just like a quick initial training. And they're like, oh, no. You're not touching me. My husband said, I can't get Botox. I said, well, this isn't Botox. This works with your body's own pharmacy. You're not touching me with any of that. So needless to say, those 2 doctors quickly sold their practice, called and said, hey, can you help us ship our device from Marshall, Minnesota to Las Vegas, Nevada? So just important to have a team that's going to get behind it. I used to walk into Josh's practice before we moved to Florida, and he would have his girls in the back in the lab doing I walked in one day and she was doing hair removal on her knuckles, like on her hands. She was I don't know, of a Eastern descent. So she had hair in places that you don't normally have hair. Anyway, she was like, are these the protocols, or are these the parameters that I need to be using them? And I was like, yeah. And I was like, well, it kind of smells like burning hair, so you guys are doing the job. And I went to Josh and I was like, it smells like burning hair in your lab right now. He was like, you know what? If they're using it, they're going to talk about it, they're going to promote it. They were totally behind it. So there's a thing to it for sure. These are bits and pieces of just some of the business development material that we have for you guys. Membership models are huge. Repeat MD will actually talk about the efficacy of membership models within their tools and just in general. Loyalty programs, all of these can be customized based on your practice, logos, and needs. But these are, I'm getting way into this. Implementation, there's a program that we work with projected growth consultants that will speak to implementation as well. But these are just different assets that we have for you guys to be successful. Swag, marketing. Again, these are our trusted vendors that will speak to this, so I'm not going to go too much into it. And then staying successful for the long run. All of these assets, again, are tools that we have to help you guys take it the distance. Continuing education, maintaining high cash flow,